All right, next up, the final game for the weeknight portion of the college football card, Nebraska and Illinois, Big Ten action also on Friday night. We've got Illinois 3.5-point home favorites, 44.5 the total in this one. I'm officially at the point now where I'm very not just a little worried. I'm not cashing the Illinois win total over this year. I thought they would not. I thought they'd be okay losing Tommy DeVito. I thought they'd be okay losing Chase Brown, their quarterback and running back combination from last year. I thought still that Brett Bielema had gotten this program to a point where, hey, they'd be able to still survive and be a pretty good team in a Big Ten that's very muddled, as we all know. But the more we watch Illinois, the more you just got to admit they're not a very good football team right now. They haven't covered a point spread this year either. 0-5 against the spread for Illinois coming into this game. They have yet to cover a number. They barely beat Toledo by 2 at home, 7.5-point favorites, don't cover. They lose at Kansas, lose to Penn State, 30-13. Another one of those instances, though, where James Franklin's trying to cover the number late in the game, and we saw that again last week with
that.
I mean, that's what you just got to know about it now, that this guy will do anything it takes to cover the point spread at the end of a game for Penn State.
I think he didn't like it in the past, you know, the chirping. So he's like, I'm gonna shove it and do this, try to cover every time. I know what the number is.
Oh, he does. I mean, don't you dare tell me these coaches don't know. They know. Trust me, what the point spread is in their respective games, especially. So they lost to Penn State, failed to cover. 23-17, very unimpressive performance against Florida Atlantic, who another team, even with Tom Herman there, have kind of underwhelmed me this year. And they only won that game 23-17. And then, of course, last week against Purdue, I mean, that might be rock bottom. I mean, Purdue doesn't have a great defense at all. And this Illinois team is still struggling to score points. You know, Altmaier got benched. It had to happen at some point, and I thought he'd be a lot better coming from Ole Miss, transferring over. I wasn't expecting him to be a phenomenal quarterback, but I sure as fuck thought he'd be a lot better than this. He has not been. John Paddock ends up taking over, so you got major quarterback question marks for Illinois. Who does Bielema start on Friday night? Luke Altmaier, who's been struggling all year, or John Paddock, who took over in the Purdue loss. And then to give up 44 points on defense. This has also been the other problem with Illinois. Bad quarterback play. They haven't run the football as well this year. And then the defense hasn't been anywhere close to as good. And I know they lost a lot of NFL talent on defense. That was a defense that had some NFL talent on it last year for Illinois, no question. But to fall off like this from last year to this year on defense is alarming. You know, 28 to Toledo, 34 allowed to Kansas, 30 allowed to Penn State, 44 last week to Purdue. And now they're favored here. And I know they're at home, Illinois, in this game. There's no way I'm laying 3.5 with Illinois right now. I've yet to cover a point spread. When you've gone this deep into the season, CMAC, if you're an 0-5 or 0-4 ATS team, I am not looking to back you and bet on you until you prove to me you can cover a damn point spread. That simple as that. Until you prove to me you can cover a damn point spread, I am not backing you if you're a 0-for ATS team this deep into the season. That tells me the betting markets were off on how good or bad you were, and it's taken this long to catch up to it. And then conversely, if you're a perfect ATS team, you've covered every number this year, I'm not looking to go against you until I see you fail to cover a point spread. That's the way I treat it with these teams that have covered every number, or these teams like Illinois that have not yet covered a point spread this year. I am not backing you until you give me a reason to back you. And right now, Illinois is just not giving me enough. I'm definitely considering Conor Nebraska here, plus 3.5. I know they can be tricky to trust here. They're off a blowout loss to Michigan, but let's be real. Were they really going to compete in the trenches with Michigan, Nebraska? No, they were not. And they end up getting blown out 45-7. Let's not forget that on the road this year, Matt Rule's team went to Minnesota and should have beaten the Gophers in that first game, 13-10 loss. They probably should have won that game. I thought they outplayed Minnesota. And then the Colorado game, you know, don't be fooled by the final score, 36-14. Dion and company, it got away from Nebraska in the second half of that game. But remember, Jeff Sims was just he shit the bed, like harder than I've ever seen a quarterback.
Can't complete passes.
Yeah, I remember that game. And that's what got away. I thought the defense for Nebraska actually played pretty well. They hung in there against Colorado for a large part of that game. And with better quarterback play, it probably would have been tighter than 36-14. in that game for Nebraska. And look, they've got issues at quarterback too. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that Heinrich Haarberg is the next coming of Scott Frost at quarterback for Nebraska here. But I think they have to stick with him, because I know I've seen enough of Sims to tell me he can't play. He can't be trusted with ball security. He can't be trusted to not turn over the football. So I think you're stuck here with Nebraska. You got to keep rocking and rolling here with Heinrich Haarberg at quarterback moving forward for this team. So I think it'll probably be Haarberg again. But let's be real. Haarberg, since he's taken over, he's had to play, Louisiana Tech, and especially that Michigan game. If anything else, even though the offense struggled, it's going to toughen you up for the rest of the Big Ten schedule when you play a defense like Michigan. So I'm certainly leaning to the points here with the Cornhuskers. And as far as the total goes, very difficult to look at this as anything but an under. And I know Illinois' defense has been very leaky, and that game with Purdue flew over the total, but it's very difficult to trust the two quarterbacks and the two offenses here in this game. So I would lean under as far as this total is concerned. What do you think here, Conor? Nebraska, Illinois?
Yeah, they have to stick, with Haarberg, and hopefully he can just, especially his passing can get a little bit better, but he can run. And yeah, they just got drubbed by Michigan. They weren't ready to play, got blown off the ball. It was just over right away. Illinois, let's get to them. This is a desperate game right here. They've just been horrible. Just been very bad. You talked about bad against the number, but the hook, I don't love that, because this is like a must-win game here. That's probably huge for Illinois, but I can't lay 3.5. Not when this defense gives up 30 points a game, just getting gashed. They rank 105th. They could be even worse, I think, especially that I've seen. That Kansas game was bad. I thought the best game, when we mentioned it last week, was Penn State for about a half, and Allmeyer threw 4 interceptions. He can't be trusted. So, yeah, do you stick with him? Just ugly. This one's just ugly. I don't have no play Monday morning on this fucking game.
Yeah, it's funny. Rance in our chat asking, where did Casey Thompson he's talking about go? He is better than both of these dudes talking about at Nebraska for quarterback. He transferred to Florida Atlantic. Tom Herman poached him, brought him to Florida Atlantic, made him the starting quarterback there, and he didn't play great. He was kind of up and down at Florida Atlantic, and then he gets hurt, knee injury, and out for the season now at Florida Atlantic for Casey Thompson.
Yeah, that's his problem.
Yeah,
injuries, Casey Thompson.
So that's where Casey Thompson's basically on the shelf. That's where he is, down in Boca Raton. Probably checking out some of the clubs down there now that he's hurt and can't play football. Something like that down there for Casey Thompson. And Daniel Richardson, by the way, has taken over the Central Michigan transfer at quarterback for Florida Atlantic.
Yeah.
And actually didn't play that bad in this against Illinois, and he's got a lot of experience. You'll say that. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, Casey Thompson, that's where he is. Florida Atlantic, started the season there, started the first few games, then got hurt, out for the season now for Florida Atlantic. So very unfortunate.